Today, I want to talk about pro-Israel supporters and their reaction to the Iran peace deal. And the reason why is there's been a lot made about this topic in the last couple days, but there was one coverage of it in particular from Breaking Points that I thought was just kind of hysterical. You'll see why. But let's get into it, and then I will provide my thoughts on top of it. Hi there, pardon the interruption. I just wanted to make a real quick ask that if you are watching my content and you appreciate it, if you could please drop me a subscription. As you can see, through the life of my channel, 95% of the people that watch my content are not subscribed. So if you are watching and you find yourself enjoying the content, I would ask that you drop a subscription. Just, again, a really quick PSA. It would mean a lot to me. It really does help my channel grow, and it allows me to make this something that I can do for a living. So just wanted to take a real quick interruption, and I'll return you back to my video. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy.
President Donald Trump is suggesting that if Israel is incapable of waging war in southern Lebanon without the mass killing of civilians, perhaps a former al-Qaeda leader should take over the task. Let's roll C2 here.
I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they do a better job of doing it.
The result in Israel, across the political spectrum and the media class, has been one of deep struggle.
The most hilarious thing about this is there's actually been way more aggressive rhetoric coming out of Donald Trump in that same conference, right? In the G7 conference, because this was on the front end of it. A couple of days have elapsed. Once again, I'm just playing this video because it gets way more hilarious as it goes on. But yeah, just from that initial part of it, that is like such a huge dig at Israel, basically saying that one of their regional rivals, more or less, Trump has more faith in them than Israel. And that's why I think one of the reasons that I look at it and the rhetoric coming out from Donald Trump, why I think that this peace deal is more likely to actually happen is that the rhetoric seems to be way more aggressive. Like he actually, because there has been, oh yeah, Trump yelled at Bibi, but this is like him publicly throwing sand in their face, like spitting in their face. That's kind of what this amounts to. So that's why I say I still am not holding my breath, but his rhetoric has been way more aggressive.
Let's roll a little bit of the John Podhoretz podcast.
Trump is now saying Bibi is indiscriminately murdering Lebanese, but the Iranians are nice and they only want to help their country.
The people who just tried to shoot down and kill two of our pilots last week.
Yeah, and
right.
Of course, who
they're pilots who are. Can you finish this sentence for me? They're pilots who are carrying out illegal strikes in another country's territory? Is that what we're talking about? Why were your pilots almost shot down? Just, again, the whole premise of them crying is kind of hysterical to me.
tried to assassinate him.
Yeah.
Tried to assassinate John Bolton.
What's going on?
So I'm telling you what's going on. What's going on is something happened and he decided.
It just, if you've not caught on, the sad sullen music is not actually part of this clip. It has been added on. And so as just for my own personal amusement, this is why we're covering this specific video, because it just chef's kiss. The adding of the music onto the just, oh no, poor sad sob story that we're the victim of our own aggression in the region is just, it's so good. It's so good. Just again, just bravo. Absolutely hilarious.
That he went the wrong way and he is ratcheting himself in the other direction. And it's almost as though when he was without restraint in the rhetoric that he was using, the militaristic rhetoric he was using, I only want unconditional surrender. I'm going to bomb your civilization. Da 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 da. Once he turns tail, suddenly Iran's nice. Qatar is brave, another thing that he said today, and you will always be my friend, and you were so brave and so wonderful in these talks, and Israel is the bad guy. So,
and just really quick, I recently stated, and I will just repeat it because it bears repeating in this video, I think what happened is that's the rhetoric that he had to use because he was being blackmailed. And what I think happened is he ran up into the reality of we were going to run out of strategic oil reserves in a matter of weeks. And so we have to actually stop the war. So I think what he is saying now has been, because if you look back over many years, what he is saying now more closely aligns to what he has been saying his entire life. What he has been saying for the past year, basically from the 12-day war up until now, and through the Iran war and all these sorts of things, what he has been saying now has been a mass departure from what he has always said. And so the framing of, oh, this is what he believed, and now he's turning on it. No. He turned on it when he was so aggressively pro-Israel and started the war. And so what I think happened was they had blackmail on him. He ran this thing as far as he possibly could. He told them, look, I need to come to some sort of agreement with Iran that opens the strait back up. And they said, okay, you can do that, but we're not actually going to stop our aggressions into Lebanon. Trump basically said, okay, that's fine, but we're not going to, we'll help you out by still providing you aid, still providing you military aid, but we're not going to actually send our military to carry out strikes against Iran, to send boots on the ground, to do any of these sorts of things. And so that, I think, is the tentative agreement that they have in hopes that the U.S. and Iran can come to some sort of agreement that returns the strait to normalcy. And Israel is hoping that they can continue their aggressions into Lebanon and still basically try to defend themselves as best they can while trying to claim territory into Lebanon. Now, do I think that's actually going to work out in the long run? I don't think so, but I think that is the understanding that's on the table right now. And so then Trump is open to do whatever sort of rhetoric against Israel that he wants. And so then he returns to the ideologies and the beliefs that he has held for the rest of his life outside of the last year.
So, which is where he's going. Like this is the opening this weekend. He went from Bibi is, what the F are you doing? And you're without judgment. And now it's you're blowing up apartment buildings in Beirut. And the Iranians are really nice.
Wait, did you hear any music there? Almost felt like I heard some music there. In any event,
Ryan had a vision.
The meltdown unfolded at MSNBC as well. It wasn't confined just to the podcast spaces. Let's roll the heartbreak from Tom Nichols here at C6.
How you characterize this kind of settlement other than the Iranians got what they wanted, the Americans didn't, and that's where we're going from here.
And then, Hagar, what does that mean for the Lebanese?
Yeah,
he's sort of right on that, but just that last part, the Americans didn't get what they wanted. I don't think the Americans really felt one way or another about it. I think what he really meant to say is Israel didn't get what they wanted. In fact, I would say this blew up in Israel's face. And so, yeah, I mean, it's so... these people, like, we should literally exile them all. We should ship them all actually back out to Israel, because it is just completely laughable. And, like, I don't know how they can even try and make these arguments. They make absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Disaster, actually, in so many ways. So Tom mentioned here that the Israelis are now being held back. And it sounds, a lot of people, it sounds like a ceasefire would be a good thing, right? Normally that sounds like something you'd want in Lebanon or anywhere. But the fact is that if we focus on Lebanon specifically, it's not there's no deal.
Over on Twitter and Telegram and Facebook, it's continuing apace. Put up C3 for some instructive elements of this one. Here's one. Everyone, and I mean everyone in Israel, feels a profound sense of betrayal today. From all across the political spectrum and from every walk of life. Everyone. History proves, says Michael Oren, the former ambassador to Washington, Israel has no choice but to risk an open confrontation with Trump. An apology from your American Jewish parents ran in the Times of Israel. We are here, among other things, to defend you too. In the end, this is your real home. She's addressing Witkoff and Kushner, whose real home is the United States of America. This is weird. And we are guarding it for you and for your future generations. And you turn your backs on us like this? Simply losers. Unfortunately, she goes, and we were wrong. We became comfortable. And over the past 2 decades, we fell asleep at the wheel. We missed the signs, and we owe you an apology. Israel was winning war after war, building up its economy, growing in Torah and mitzvot. At the same time, the West, especially America and Europe, was falling into an abyss of immorality and godlessness.
And just the sensationalism of this post. Like, you are so out of touch with reality. Just the point of winning war after war. You didn't win any of that. I'm pretty sure American weaponry won all of that. And American forces won a lot of that. You guys would be nothing. You would be literally dust if it was not for the United States. That's what makes all of this so funny to me, is that basically these people are so delusional that they think that they could do anything without the backing and the support and billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars from the United States. Like, I really hope that they get some sense knocked back into them and they get brought back down to earth, because they are completely insane at this point in time. And by the way, into an abyss of immorality and godlessness, pretty sure that, yes, we may have assisted, not me, I wanted no part of this, but the United States as a whole and our government has shipped you weapons to do it, but Gaza, and you're going to try and say that the West and Europe has fallen into immorality and godlessness. The one thing that you have used for since World War II to justify doing whatever you want and claim the victim because all the Holocaust, you literally are committing a genocide and you're trying to call other countries immoral and godless. What is going on inside your little pea brains that you think that this is correct at all? That you think that you are the victim? No, you are the aggressor. You are evil. and you literally were just carrying out a genocide. So, like, I don't want to hear from any of you. You have no moral high ground.
Jerusalem Post had, quote, sold their brothers. Israeli right-wing figures brand Witkoff, Kushner as losers over Iran deal. Kushner and Witkoff really coming in for some serious abuse here.
It's tough. It's tough to be them.
Laura Loomer not taking it well. She watched a clip of the World Cup. Iran, after scoring an equalizer, one of their players did the old pistol thing to the ground and to the crowd. Ooh,
And
she did
Loomer
not take
said,
that well.
Loomer replied,
Loomer, insane that these freaks are allowed to come to the U.S. By the way, they detained the guy who scored the goal for like 7 hours, and he still scored. And they were not even letting the Iranians sleep here. Like, they have to fly in and fly immediately back out.
but Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are negotiating with them simultaneously. And we're cutting a deal with them, $300 billion of economic development, unfreezing assets, lifting sanctions, and you can see why. The tears are flowing, no question about it. You know, my question is really the rallying around Trump that some of his biggest critics in the last 24 hours have done since February. You look at that, and you just ask, what did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen? Were you so confident that Donald Trump was going to do the full Netanyahu? And I mean, you and I obviously still have criticisms of what Trump is doing. It's not as though we're like, oh man, Donald Trump, such a realist. He's really giving the finger to the neoconservatives. No, he did the war. He did the war. But if you're Donald Trump, you're probably looking at Mark Levin now and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have listened to you.
Yes, a lot. You're hearing that a lot in the Israeli political class, that Netanyahu sold Trump a bridge.
Yeah.
Trump bought it, and that he's not going to be able to sell Trump any more bridges, and that he's really burned that bridge. In fact, we can put up C4.
And I do kind of agree with that assessment, just because, drawing a parallel, Elon Musk and DOGE, he got to do whatever he wanted until he hit a point that it became untenable, and Trump said, hey, wrap it up, because it was becoming very politically unpopular. Same thing here. I think he allowed them, because of either campaign donations, blackmail, some mixture therein, I'm going to give you the war until it hits the boiling point where literally you're going to collapse the entire global economy, and then we're going to pull back. And then, just as at that point in time with Doge, he literally came out and started berating Elon and was like, we're done, we're wrapping it up. Same thing is happening here. Now he's berating them. He's done with them. I don't owe you any favors anymore. I did what I can do. And so now we're over. We're done. So that is why I think that, yes, this is something that I think may actually hold, is because I see parallels between those two events. I'm not holding my breath that is what's going to happen. But if you're looking at the positive and you're hoping that this does actually hold and that there is a peace deal that comes out of this that sticks, that is the most charitable interpretation and path forward and parallels to things that have happened in recent history that I can provide for this circumstance.
Amit Siegel, who's the journalist who was closest to President Trump, to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, posted in Hebrew, which Sagar helpfully translated here.
Claude helped Sagar.
Claude helped Sagar translate, of course. I mean, I'm not claiming Sagar speaks Hebrew. Finding that the support for Trump is collapsing. Within 3 weeks, he went from what? Plus basically 25 minus 25, give or take a few. Like an absolutely incredible turnaround. Trump hates it when people don't like him.
Yeah.
So as J.D. Vance shares this information with him, I think Trump's position is probably just going to harden on this question. I don't think this is going to soften him. Like, he likes people who like him, dislikes people who dislike him. It's pretty much that simple.
Right.
He was fantasizing recently about maybe he'd run for a prime minister in Israel because he has 99% approval rating over there. That was several weeks ago. I think that his campaign is much less tenable at this point. If he wanted to run. Now,
the funniest thing, and you are seeing it some from the pundits here in the United States, they still understand that you should not criticize Trump. They will go after other people. They will go after J.D. Vance. They will go after whoever, right? Witkoff, Kushner, right? Those are the people who actually understand that, yeah, you don't attack Trump directly. Israelis, again, I think they are completely detached from reality. They do not understand this. They feel betrayed by him, which is kind of hilarious because, once again, how are you entitled at all to anything the United States has? This is why I really, and obviously, I'm not saying all Jews in the world. I think there are plenty of Jews in the United States that are perfectly good people. But Israelis specifically, on the whole, as a group, there is a reason why stereotypes exist. And the stereotypes of them, completely entitled, completely detached from reality, genocidal, obviously, like, they don't understand, they don't actually have the understanding of how Trump works. And so now for them to come out and attack him because they feel so entitled to the U.S. military support and so entitled that we fight on behalf of them, we are subservient to them, which is a complete joke. Like, I'm sorry. Again, you would not exist without the United States. So, yeah, they're just basically going to now, by attacking Trump, they're going to turn him against them much more aggressively. And as I was saying, the pundits in the United States understand that that is a very bad tactic to take. But there are a group of people now who I think that this will radicalize Trump against them. Because in lieu of everything else that I was saying about how Trump was going along with it because of the money donated and blackmail and whatever, the more that they attack him now, the more he's going to turn against them. And I think that may be what you are seeing in the recent days, because once again, from when this was shot to where I am recording, there have been much more negative statements that Trump has come out saying against Israel and just more flagrantly offensive things. And I think that is probably a component of this, is that he has seen what some of the talking heads in Israel have been saying about him and the negative things that they have been saying. And so that is turning him more aggressively against them. And that is just a character trait of Donald Trump.
This has actual, I think, practical real-world implications here, because the domestic politics now inside Israel are going to push not just Netanyahu, but other candidates for prime minister to try to draw daylight between themselves and the United States. For decades, the way that you became prime minister in Israel was to say, I am the most loyal to the president likes me the most, and so I will forge the best relationship with the United States. Like, that was the thing that you would argue. No, and then you'd have your positions for and against the different domestic policies. But when it came to the foreign policy, the idea was, I am the one that can build the relationship with the United States. And Netanyahu would always say, just leave the Americans to me. I know how to work the Americans.
Yeah.
Now, Netanyahu is more popular than Trump. And Netanyahu is not very popular. So Netanyahu is incentivized to say, I am the one who will stand up to Trump. Then what does he have to do? He has to do something. Does he continue the war in Lebanon? Does he refuse to withdraw troops?
Yeah.
And then what does Trump do?
Right.
Because If Iran says, well, then that's over our red line, we're attacking Israel, does Trump, now that Netanyahu is fully broken with him, does Trump attack Iran on Netanyahu's behalf if he's out campaigning against him? Or does Israel now have to wage a war against Iran by itself? With its, as we reported, they're down to double-digit ballistic missile interceptors. They rely on the U.S. Navy's ballistic missile interceptors. And in order to carry out their bombing runs on Iran, they need refueling help from the U.S. Recently, when they struck Iran, if you notice, they did it from Western Iraq because they couldn't refuel. That's much more expensive. You're using expensive munitions. The munitions have a lower payload because they have to travel then much further. You know, if you can just fly right over top with a gigantic B-52 and just B-2 and just drop the heaviest stuff you've got, boom, that's going to have the most impact. If you have to fire a missile from Western Iraq from a plane that has to then turn around and go home, it's easier to intercept, it's less accurate, and it's going to have a lower payload. So that's what Israel's left in its war against Iran. Iran's still sitting with a bunch of its hypersonic ballistic missiles, and Israel's depleted. But like I said, the domestic politics push Netanyahu in that direction, but it's disastrous to his foreign policy. Like, he really screwed himself.
Yeah, and that's the part that just everything he laid out there, everything Ryan laid out there, 100% correct, in my opinion. Like, that is the thing that I will be very interested to see, because that's what I've been calling out, is like, when that happens, because I think the U.S., we have said, we need the Strait open, we cannot carry this out any further. I think Bibi has to continue war, otherwise he has to stand trial and could end up in jail. So his incentives are in the opposite direction. So what actually happens? Because I do think Iran probably feels emboldened that they will strike anyway, and we can't go back into another war as the United States. It will literally collapse the entire global economy. So we need the Strait open, and by all accounts, then we have to hang Israel out to dry. And it will be very interesting to see if that gets carried through with. I think it could. I kind of doubt it. It will be very interesting to see, yes, the rhetoric of whoever the leader is, of I'm going to stand up to the United States. I don't think Trump will handle that particularly well. And then what happens from there? That's why I think it will be very interesting to see how it plays out, because I think a couple things are true. I think Trump realizes that he cannot continue the war anymore because all of our strategic reserves for oil are almost depleted. The Strait has to be opened. At the same time, Iran is not going to allow Israel to continue moving into Lebanon. And at the same time, Israel is not going to stop waging some sort of war somewhere, probably continued against Lebanon. And so one of those relationships is going to have to fray somewhere. And I think the U.S. is going to hold pat. So, and I think it is completely unacceptable for Iran, for Israel to continue hostilities in the region at all. And so then do we hang them out to dry? As the United States, do we hang Israel out to dry? It's going to be real interesting to see what happens in the next couple of months.
And some of this is yet to be determined, because we don't know. We've covered this over the course of the show today. Like, we don't know what happens in the next 60 days. We don't know if Trump actually does end up capitulating somewhat to Netanyahu. Things resume in Lebanon. It all falls apart, but it's just less high profile, similar to what's happened in Gaza. He's able to get the deal, say he got the deal. He's trumpeted peace deals around the world that don't actually totally materialize. It's just the point that he's able to say, I orchestrated X, Y, and Z. And that's what he wants to do. And do I think that he wants to have some long-term solution to the problem? Is that his ideal? Probably. But does he really care at the end of the day if that turns out to crumble? If he's,
as I was saying, I don't think Iran allows that to happen.
Also able to say, I did this, I brought people to the table. They had all the incentives, and they just didn't want to make a deal. that's also probably something he's satisfied with at the end of the day. Less.
But if the strait is not open, that's not an outcome that the United States would find satisfactory. So we would not allow that to happen.
Satisfied, of course, then being able to be remembered as the president who brought peace to the Middle East, or whatever he thinks that his vision of peace in the Middle East looks like, Mara Gaza, whatever that was or is, actually, because that seems to still be the plan. Hard to know. But anyway, all this is to say, you look at how people have been treating Trump, who are supporters of the robust Israeli-American alliance over the last couple of months. Like, he is the hero, the visionary. All of his haters are they are disintegrating the coalition. They're being selfish. The pushback is anti-Trump. And now some of these same people are doing pushback and saying that Trump is abandoning Israel. They're furious. You heard Podhoretz and Eli Lake, who, by the way, we invited to come on the show today. We will keep asking him to come on because—
My cousin Eli.
Yeah, distant by marriage, I think, right? Yeah. And so we want to bring somebody on who's going to make this—
My cousin won't even come on the program.
Argument.
Come on, Eli.
And so we'll keep trying to make that happen. But they're furious that Trump said Syria might be a better— Syria might have a better— or might be a better protector of Lebanon, or a guarantor of peace to some extent in Lebanon than Israel. That is infuriating. Trump's biggest supporters.
The Al-Qaeda guy cares more about civilian casualties.
It's a realist perspective, though, right? Like, he's saying, here you have a country that is able to relate to this country. We can say it's dumb, but like, these are the same people who were saying Trump was a genius for the last 2 months. So which is it? Also,
Syria is not going to do this, by the way, because Syria would rather have Israel fighting Hezbollah in southern Lebanon than bombing Damascus. And they continue to occupy Golan Heights and a lot of area north of that. They're pushing like very close to Damascus. Like, so the second that al-Shara went in and like took care of Hezbollah, which of course they can't remotely do, but let's say they did, then Israel would just start bombing Damascus. So like, it's interesting that even though Assad and al-Shara are completely ideologically different, and we're at war with each other, and that Israel, saw al-Shara coming in as advantageous compared to Assad because Assad was part of the axis of resistance. He has the same geostrategic logic as Assad did to kind of allow either, and Maz has been pointing this out at Dropside, either by neglect or by design, the supply lines between Iran and Hezbollah seem intact. Yeah. Because like you're seeing drone technology and other military equipment appearing in southern Lebanon that Iran only recently developed, which means it's getting from Iran somehow over to southern Lebanon and the whole.
And this has been the case that I have been making for a while, and I don't know why the other countries don't do it. But I have said before, I think all of them should just basically group up and form a coalition, put all their hatreds for each other aside, and then team up against Israel to just honestly wipe them off the face of the map. That's what I would do if I were in their shoes, but at the very least, stop their aggression. So yeah, that I think you're actually starting to see that play out now. And that's exactly what I called out. Like, why haven't they done that? Why did it take until now? Like, we have been supporting their campaign to basically overthrow regime after regime, country after country, for decades now, and it took them this long to actually put their differences aside and say, oh no, there's a greater evil that we have to team up against to fight. And they should have done this, like they should have seen this happening a decade plus ago. Like, how did it have to come to this? I mean, I guess now, yes, with the advent of new age technology, military technology, like the drones, right? Like missiles that are cheap, that can overcome and basically bleed out a foe with super expensive interceptors. Like, yes, the landscape of the whole conflict and the whole situation is different. But yeah, I feel like they should have banded together and fought like hell way earlier than now. But this is the logical outcome to that.
The point of overthrowing Assad for Israel was to cut off that supply line, but they then so weakened Syria that even if they wanted to, they can't. Like, Assad controls like Idlib and Damascus, basically.
And stop projecting your ideological...
Al-Shara, not Assad.
Yeah, stop projecting your ideological wishes onto Trump, because he's going to reflect them temporarily at any given point and then reflect your opponent temporarily at any given point, because he's not a hardened ideologue. So anytime you're claiming some big ideological victory with Trump, you're taking a risk, because you're going to have egg on your face in all likelihood 3 weeks later. Even people now who are saying Trump is giving Israel the middle finger will have egg on their face at some point, again, because he's going to do something nice to Netanyahu. The man is not a hardened ideologue. He is totally doing what he thinks is pragmatic.
Yeah, like, just imagine if Netanyahu et al. In Israel drops $500 million into Trump coin, which then Trump cashes out. Like, yes, then absolutely he'll do within reason whatever he can. Like, outside of, once again, running up against exhausting our strategic oil reserves, like, whatever he can do, he's going to do that if you pay him off. And so, yeah, to think that he is completely shut off to helping them at all, I think the war he has told them we're ratcheting that down, but any other sort of support that he can lend them, they can just pay him off. And I have absolutely no reservations and no qualms with saying, yeah, that's not gonna, like, it's a few $1 million away from him doing whatever they want him to do. Within reason now, right? He's not going back to war with Iran, I don't think. I would not bet on it. Now, not heavily, but that's what I believe. Like, I think it's like 60-40. 60 that he's not going back to war, 40 that, yeah, of course it could happen. But I am more on the side that I don't think it's going to happen. And so, but a large sum of money, like, at the end of his term, he might not do it now, but at the end of his term, like at 3.5 years, maybe he kicks up the war again, and then he cashes out $1 billion and then rides off into the sunset and moves down to Argentina with Peter Thiel or something. Like, who knows? Would that be outside of the realm of possibilities? Absolutely not.
At any given point, and that logic can often be hard to follow, but if you're going to start mocking people for being wrong about Trump and being spurned by Trump, you will also end up being mocked and spurned by Trump.
Last thing, because I know we got to get moving. What is this doing to the Republican coalition? Like, is Tucker kind of coming out on top here? Or is the break between Trump and the Tucker world so personal that even if they wind up on the same side again, it can't be repaired? Like, what's the status here?
I mean, some of the same people we were just talking about were furious that J.D. Vance even went on Megyn Kelly's show yesterday.
Right.
Furious.
Well, they said it would be dangerous even for him to do that.
Furious.
Right.
Furious about the fact that he sat down with somebody who has been
books.
critical. Yeah, man's got to sell books. Ryan knows the grind. Critical of this war. And one of the things that JD said to Megyn yesterday is that he told Trump he was going on the show, and Trump said, absolutely, I love that JD said he'll say nice things about you when you agree with him, and he'll say bad things about you when you don't agree with him. That's just who he is. And so
who's talking about Tucker?
He's talking about the president.
Oh,
and
okay.
so if you don't understand that at this point, then you just are blind to the last 10 years of Trump. Megyn was like, yeah, I don't mind it, because if you are watching Trump closely, you kind of understand that's how this works. So I don't know. I think Tucker is so totally black-pilled by the war, which is something JD criticized people for being, quote, black-pilled, not Tucker by name, but being black-pilled by the fact that the war was launched in the first place. I think there's some people who are just off the bandwagon because of that. I don't think Massey gets back in the coalition or Tucker gets back in the coalition. I think there's a thaw probably in some of these relationships. Even the fact that JD did go on Megyn's show yesterday says he's willing to take some of the questions and talk to some of the people who have been critical of the administration. So I don't think it's a complete disaster for the mega coalition in terms of like some people sticking around. But I also think just the decision to launch the war in and of itself was a bridge that was burned with a lot of people, period. And you're not.
And here's my take on it, just because I have been keeping generally a pretty close pulse on it. I feel like Tucker has gone so, and it's maybe a component of just the right being so beholden to whatever Trump says, like whoever still identifies as the right, that they have basically turned on Tucker Carlson completely. And I feel like now the left is actually embracing him, which is kind of insane. And I don't really know what to make of it, because at the end of the day, there are still vast differences, at least from a cultural perspective, right? With Christianity, with like abortion, with some foundational issues that just Tucker and anyone on the left would just be so far apart on. I think the thing is that with the war being so all-consuming, that it's kind of the same thing with Trump going into 2024, right? Into the election, is that it just brought together such a disparate coalition of all these different things, but they all agreed that the economy is so bad under Biden that we need something else. This is not the path forward. We cannot go this way. And I think what is happening now is that there's a coalescing around Tucker Carlson of populism. And the interesting thing about that is that Tucker Carlson has said he will never go to the left. Now, I think he has a lot of support from the left and a ton. I think everyone who is independent, which is the majority now, is behind him, because that's populism. And anyone with half a brain cell should be on the populism train. They shouldn't care right or left. I don't care. I'm going to pick the person who has the most populist messaging. That's where everyone who is halfway intelligent should be. Again, that's not everyone. There's still people on the far right who love Trump, love him no matter what. Whatever he does, they'll twist themselves into knots to support it. I have seen it. I don't like the brain rot that exists there. I don't know what is going on there. There's the coalition of Israel firsters that were only on the side of Trump because he was doing whatever Israel was telling him to do. There's the far, far, far left, but I feel like most of them even have fallen on the populist train right now. And I think a component of that is a mass spurning of anything pro-Israel, like AIPAC, track AIPAC. There's a reason why that has gotten so popular and why that has become such a huge red flag for anyone in the Democratic Party. That's why you're seeing a lot of Democratic socialists and very radical people on the left winning primaries, is because they're basically saying to hell with anyone who supports Israel, because we've seen them commit a genocide. We've seen this war now, which has been totally at their behest, which has destroyed as bad as the economy was in the United States, it's made it 1,000 times worse and will continue to. All the effects, mark my words, have not been felt with this war. So it's just a very interesting point in time in which we find ourselves. And I do not think that Tucker completely abandons the Republicans, but I think he attacks it from a populist lean. And although my vibe is that people on the left, and especially people independents, but like people on the left even, are having broad support for him, I don't know that fully follows through. And I don't think that they then jump onto the Republican side again, especially with how toxic Trump and his coalition are making it. I don't know that they follow him, and I don't know that Tucker would ever jump ship over to the left. Maybe there is a possibility of a third party. Maybe Tucker tries to come up and challenge people with a populism message with Massey or something. It could play out that way. Who knows what's happening? But that's kind of my take on it. There could be a mending of a relationship between Tucker and Trump, but I don't know that Tucker goes full bore back in with Trump again. I think he realizes he is a savvy operator. I think he realizes that Trump is politically toxic. And so I don't know that that fully repairs itself. But you have seen Trump in the past criticize Tucker and then seem to be friendly with him, or at least cordial with him in the past. So I think that is a possibility that there is a mending, but I don't think it comes back into a full friendship that it may have been in the past. And sorry, that's super long-winded, but I wanted to kind of lay out, because I think that it actually was a really good question, and it is a very nuanced answer that I want to provide, because I did want to just kind of paint the full picture of how I have seen things playing out.
Be able to reconstruct that.
But anyway, that was about all I wanted to cover in this video. Once again, I just wanted to share this one because the addition of the music, the sad music, was just, it was just too good. There are a lot of videos that have been made about the freak out from the Israel First lobby and figureheads and talking heads and Zionists here in the United States, and just Israelis in general freaking out. But this was, once again, just too good. I had to share it. I found it hysterical, and so wanted to share that with you as well. But if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.